BST 2016. This is interviews, music reviews, and more. This is The Hodder Show.
What is up, everybody? We are Rolling Audio here today on episode 322 of The Hodder Show. I hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. Thank you so very much for tuning in and clicking that play button on today's episode of the podcast. I got a really fun episode for you here today. I do every single week right here on The Hodder Show. I am, in a way, reconnecting with my BoyStick from the Honestly Lazy Show. Now, you guys may know the name, the Honestly Lazy Show. They were a part of Podbeard Network, and they are a fantastic podcast that has been brought back kind of from a little bit of a elongated hiatus, I guess. BoyStick was doing content in between there on his own channel, and then he'd do things once in a while, but he is back in full form with a brand new podcast version of the Honestly Lazy Show, and it is awesome. So I thought it was high time that we get BoyStick back on the Hodder Show here. And it had been a while since I talked with him, so it was great getting to catch up with him and kind of just shoot the shit and talk about the podcast world and the YouTube world and how funny it is that now he is doing a podcast when he fought it for so long. The early days of him starting off in the podcast world and kind of what his plans are for the Honestly Lazy Show podcast. So we have a great time chatting with BoyStick. So look forward to that. We're going to get into that in just a second because I need to take a moment to thank everybody for their support on last week's episode of the show, in which I did a live cast for the 6th year anniversary of the Hodder Show. It was an absolute blast. Thank you so much to everyone who came out and everyone who checked it out after the fact. The fact that people actually went out of their way to listen and watch it when it wasn't live was really cool. So thank you so very much. Couple of things that I did announce during that podcast in regards to Patreon content. I'm going to get to that in the outro of this episode, so stay tuned for that if you are interested in checking out what I got going on the Patreon. And I need to give one quick shout out to the Grey Rooms podcast, because if you missed it, my interview with the creator of the Grey Rooms, Jason Wilson, was actually featured as a season 4 bonus episode on their actual podcast feed, which is a huge deal. I cannot stress enough how much that meant to me and how humbling it was to have that show of respect from the Grey Rooms, because it is my favorite podcast and I cannot say enough wonderful things about that team over there. So huge shouts again to Jason and Brooks and the entire Grey Rooms team. Thank you guys so much for not only having the faith in me to share my podcast on your feed, but also for giving me the honor of being featured on your actual podcast feed. It meant the world to me. And if you have come from the Grey Rooms, welcome. This is a very different podcast than the Grey Rooms, but we like to have fun here. And rest assured that I will have more people from the Grey Rooms on the podcast in the future. But right now, here today, we're chatting with my buddy BoyStick from the Honestly Lazy Show. Let's get into it. 4 years ago, pretty much to the day, I had this guy on the podcast, episode 146, closer to 200 episodes ago than 100. Let that sink in. It has been a while since we've heard from this guy. I'm very excited to welcome back onto the Hodder Show my boy, BoyStick, Justin Aldridge from the Honestly Lazy Show. Justin, what's up, brother? Good to see you.
Oh, how's it been? It's been fucking 4 years.
A minute.
I think the only thing that's changed with me is I've gotten fatter. That's about it.
No, you look good.
I feel like
face looks nice and slim. No, you're good.
I feel like so 4 years ago, that you're right, the episode did come out, and I decided to listen to it again because I was like, fuck. I wonder how much I swore back then, because I feel like nowadays I don't swear as much. I still do love swearing because that's what makes me the outlaw.
Love swearing,
right? But like my parents won't listen to my podcast because I swear too much, which is good because then I can say some fucked up shit and they'll never hear it. So I mean, for me, 4 years ago I swore a lot more, but I feel like me and you both have. Our egos and everything have changed in the 4 years. I feel like when we did our first interview, we were cocky in both. You were cocky with podcasts and I was cocky with commentary videos. And the one thing that I said never do 4 years ago is podcasting. And now here I am fucking doing podcasting.
See, I knew even back then that you'd end up in this world. I knew it was going to happen.
I think everybody
did. It was just a matter of time until officially it was. And when I saw you kind of relaunch the Honestly Lazy Show, which we're going to get into all that, we got obviously a ton of ground to cover. But I knew the second I saw your relaunch, I think I saw on like Facebook like the logo changed.
Yeah, that was the big one.
To? What is he doing? And then I saw like, oh, the Honestly Lazy podcast. I was like, motherfucker. Like,
well, okay, let's be honest. The Honestly Lazy Show was pretty much a podcast. Just
yes,
Craig and I didn't want to call the podcast, so we thought by doing that stupid game where you put the thing in your mouth and you can't speak right and shit, it'd be different. And I watch podcasts. I'm like, they fucking do the show all the time.
It's basically
like,
the same thing.
People eat pizza while they're on their podcast. Like, it's just because when I went into the podcasting world, I was like, what am I going to do? I didn't really have anything. And I realized I can do whatever the fuck I want. Bill Burr just sits in a room and talks about like a fucking football game. And that's a podcast. So I'm like, if anybody can do that, then I can be a podcaster. But
I was literally speaking with someone today I work with about how he's like, oh, I've always wanted to start a sports podcast. And I said, dude, you've got a great speaking voice. You're a fun guy. You are very knowledgeable. I said, go for it.
Like, it's actually funny because there's a guy at my work so in the future, the Honestly Lazy podcast, I'm going to start doing live streams.
Right.
And that's how I'm going to kind of start doing the interviews, just a live stream, hang out, kind of like what Joe Rogan did, but with Zoom calls, which are kind of nerve wracking. Just in case someone says something bad and I get banned from YouTube forever. But I was talking to this guy at work and it was the same thing. This guy loves to gamble. Like, he's a gambler and stuff, but he loves sports. And I mean, holy shit, he gets mad at me because I don't watch sports. But this guy and we talk about UFC all the time, talk about boxing. And I was like, dude, you should be on my show. And he was like, oh, yeah, I'll come on for an interview. I'm like, no, you should be on my show. I'll give you a segment. I was like, if you can do – because like we'll talk about the new branding a little bit later of the podcast. But with how the branding's going, I could have a sports section where he covers it. I'm like, I give you as long as you want. I give you 20 minutes. And he was like, done. And so I sent him over Facebook like what microphone you should get, which is just a Blue Yeti. Like I was like, you don't even need an interface and shit. Like Dean Blundell, who everyone, if you're from Toronto, you remember Dean Blundell. Yeah. And he does all of his podcasting and shit now with a Blue Yeti. Like I don't even think he has a fucking interface, which blows me away that Dean Blundell, who's the biggest radio show host, uses only a USB fucking microphone. Like it doesn't make sense. It literally proves that anybody can do a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, with podcasting, and like we'll get back like something you said earlier. I want to touch on because I think it was funny. But with podcasting and that, like literally over the last 4 years, man, like I have seen hundreds of people start podcasts.
Oh, it's nuts.
It's the idea of anybody can do a podcast is really true because there's a lot of great content creators out there who maybe wouldn't have had the courage to do a podcast, but then they see someone like someone like us who like, we're just two dudes who we don't like. I mean, you have way more of a background in this shit than I do, obviously. Like you went to school for film and stuff like that. But like when you're someone who doesn't have a background in anything and you start a podcast, it's like, I have no business doing this, but I'm going to anyway, because it's fun.
It's literally like, so it's the same thing with me. Everybody and their mom, like I listen to people like Artie Lang. Artie Lang was a co-host on Howard Stern, huge heroin addict, fucked it all up. And now he's back with the Halfway House podcast. I've been listening to that. But he was on Joe Rogan and he said, I would go to jail and the fucking jail guards would be like, oh, I have a podcast. You should check mine out while he's in jail.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the way it is. And that's it. And people are like, oh, you know what the big thing is? It's just pure laziness for the people who don't start the podcast, because literally you can buy the mic and it gets sent straight to your house and they won't, and you can spend fucking $20 and record on your fucking cell phone nowadays. Cause that's how you started, was on a tablet. right?
Yes. However, when I started, I had an interface and all that stuff that I plugged into my phone. From day one, I always had an actual microphone. That was the only thing that set me apart. That was it.
Yeah, but and it's funny because I remember when you first came out with that podcast, I listened to episode 1, and that fucking audio, it was like basement, like your audio now is like compared to back then, it's like my audio now. Like, you know, it was just yours is way more professional. I have an echo because I'm still using a fucking condenser. I need a new mic. I'm gonna get one. But it's amazing to see because you went through a lot of transitions, really. Because first,
you could say that.
first, you were doing it all yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I swear it was just like a one take thing, right? Like you cut it up.
Always.
Yes. And now you cut it up, you do retakes and stuff. I don't do that. Mine's a one take. I don't even listen to myself. I can remember everything I pretty much say. I've had to cut myself out because I say shit sometimes. I'm like, ooh, that can get me in a lot of trouble. Like I was bashing Donald Trump Jr.'s kid for the Alec Baldwin t-shirts. Guns don't kill people. Alec Baldwin does. He started selling those shirts after the incident on that movie set, and I destroyed him. And I said some fucked up shit, and you can see the jump cuts if you watch the YouTube video.
Right.
But with you cut it all down, and you had a producer. You had Brandon Bowden as a producer. And then what happened there? What made him stop producing for you? You just got too busy?
Just too busy.
Yeah.
The thing is with that was like, and for the record, with my interviews, like this is all pretty much live. Like I don't really, you know, but I know what you're saying. Obviously I cut and add the intro and all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
With him, it was literally honestly just, he called me up one day and said, man, like he was getting into the voiceover world heavily.
Yeah.
And now he's still always the official voiceover guy of the Harder Show. That's never going to change.
Dude, that was his first. You were his first show.
But some of the stuff he's been doing is like, there's a YouTube channel that he is the voice of.
Really?
And it is a huge YouTube channel. Like,
how come he hasn't shared it? Like, how come he hasn't posted it?
It's, I mean, Brandon is not a social media guy, but it's hard to explain. I don't want to tell his story, but like basically the channel is, and I also don't want to be the one to share because it's not my place. I'll tell you off air, but it's not my place to share. But basically just the content of it, and he's not really involved with anything except for just as the voice. But he's been doing it for so long, and it's so popular with that specific community. If they changed the voice, it would like cause an uproar. So
really,
it's cool, man. And he's done a ton of other shit. But so just he was getting really busy, and he was like, dude, like, you don't really need me anymore. Like he's like, because like he always says from day one, he's like, your audio was better than most podcasts that have a producer. Like
better than mine. He
was always very like, dude, like you cared about this from day one.
Yeah.
Which I did, but it was literally just, you know, he's getting busier. He's like, you don't really need me anymore. If you need me for anything major, obviously I'm always gonna have your back. And there's times where I've messaged him and, dude, like this interview, something happened with the audio. Can you please give me a hand, take a look at it? And that'll still happen, you know? And he did the newer intro for me. I still have stuff I use that he created. So it was just busyness. That was it. And that was, that was even a long time ago now. Holy shit. That was well over 100 episodes ago now.
Do you, like for me, I have this one little part where it's like the logo comes in and it says the Honestly Lazy podcast and it zooms out and there's sound effects to it. And I made that all myself. Like I found all the sound effects through free use, and I had so much, and that's what I really had fun doing that. And if I was less busy, I would have like fucking 30 of those. Like,
right.
Because of the way that the show's going, these are what I need to in between the segments, right? Do you do any of the sound effects? Like anything?
I'll just stop you right there. No, that was all Brandon.
Did you not like doing it? Or did you ever try it?
I do. So it's funny. So with like the Harder Show intro, like the crazy sounds, that's all him.
Yeah.
With anytime I input sound effects in the show, obviously that's me now, but I am a huge fan of sound design, which I know you know what sound design is. For those who don't know, it's inputting stuff, you know. So I am a huge fan of doing sound design for audio drama podcasts. That's become like my new
hobby
session. Like
it's like a hobby too. That's a fun fucking hobby to have.
Yes.
Like literally.
Like the Harder Show is my hobby, and it's my main thing that I do with my very limited free time. But it's like I did the Halloween episodes I did this Halloween where I was narrating horror stories I wrote for my I'm not going to talk about that right now. I could get into that in the fucking like 3 hours, but all the sound effects and in this scene, this thing happens. So I need a chain being dragged across a floor, or I need someone gets stabbed. I need a good stab sound effect. Like I love that shit now. Yeah. The background is a lake, and this girl's driving a boat, but you're not going to hear the boat the whole fucking time because you wouldn't be able to hear the audio. So, I'm going to have the boat come in and then fade out. And, here's this perfect lake background noise, like video that has it. But, it's missing something. Let me add crickets. Let me add a little wind in this one section. Like, I live for that shit now. I love that shit.
I did that. I did a project like that in college. One of my first audio projects was create a scene with just using sound effects. So I had a guy. He flicks his cigarette and he walks into a bar. So you hear him like flick a cigarette. You hear conversation, and then he walks in, and the door opens, the music fades in quick. Yeah. And then the music goes from the one headphone to the other, like he's walking by the speaker, and he sits, and you hear him sit down at a bar stool. And then I was like, what's that one thing that's fucking missing? And then I put a random guy just saying, "Hey man." And I put that at the end. And for some reason I was like, that's all that needed was just the fucking "Hey man." And it was just like, and I sat there, and I think it only had to be like 15 seconds. And I sat there for a week editing it, just having so much fun with it. I was like, fuck. And I feel like I should be doing the same with the way that my brain's working right now. It's like I have a full-time job. I as you see, I'm drinking beer. I want to ease up on the drinking. But 2022, it's like I got way too drunk on New Year's Eve. And then after that, it's like I've been so creative this year so far. It's weird. Like it's just 2022 did something to me. I'm like writing a book. I'm not trying to fucking publish it. I'm just writing a book. So I'm like, fuck it, I want to write a book.
Just writing for the sake of writing.
Yeah. And then I'm writing songs, like folk songs. And then I'm just like every day at work, like I have a fucking whiteboard up here now. I've never had a whiteboard to jot down ideas for the podcast. I've never taken it this seriously. Like the other day I had to use sticky notes for my notes for my podcast. I used to use cue cards, and I was fucking pissed. Because I was like, the cue cards are the thing. People always ask me, like, you got to bring the cue cards back. And I'd use a fucking sticky note. So it's just like those little things. And I've gotten so creative this year that it's just like, I want to do like voiceover work. Or it's like, maybe I should like post an ad on Kijiji or something. Like I can do voiceover work for you. Or fuck it. If you want me to do sound effects, I can do sound effects for your videos and shit. It's just like, I just want to. The weird thing is, it's like I want to make money doing this shit, but at the same time, it's just like this shit will keep me occupied for hours. And that's more of what I want, is I just want to stay busy instead of like, because I was at a state at one time, like for 3 years, where every Saturday I was cracking a beer at noon and then fucking drinking until 3 or 4 in the morning. So I'm trying to get out of that. Like even I moved out, and it's still like, fuck. I look at it's 12 o'clock and I'm like, a beer would be fine. One beer. And then that turns into like just a fucking, you can't go anywhere because you're drunk.
Yeah. Which, and I think, and I mean, and that's all cool to hear, man. Like with the creativity, like, as a creative person, like you always got to create, right?
Yeah.
I think in one way, shape or form, you're always going to be doing some kind of creative shit, whatever it is, right? And,
yeah, exactly.
Having that focus. I mean, trust me, that was why I started doing this podcast. That was why I was doing 4 podcasts at one point. That's why I was doing all this shit, because it was like, I want to occupy my time that I do have with fun stuff that's not just me sitting watching TV or me just playing video games. Like I want to do something creative because I had those creative juices in me. I needed to, I needed to expel.
The big thing is, even with me, so how I work my podcast out now is because I have these 20-minute segments, like 20-minute segments, or I can get up to an hour. I shoot 3 nights a week. That's 3 nights. And then I take a whole night to export, create thumbnail, and upload to everything, schedule for the next day. That's why it comes out on Fridays, because I do everything. So like tonight, like we're shooting this on a Monday. I haven't shot anything. So tomorrow I'll shoot 2 things just to keep busy. And the crazy, like, even though these are hobbies, like, and the podcast is a great, like, it's therapeutic to me.
Oh, for sure.
This shit can fucking mentally drain you. Like I've been like sitting there, like at some points where I'm just like, I don't want to film and I don't even want to talk. Like, and then I'm just like, but I got to, because like me and you are in the world where it's almost like you have to upload once a week. You at least have to, or you're going to lose your audience. That's how this world is.
That's the reality. Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you miss a week, like I took a week off for my Christmas break and I came back and I was like, I'm not fucking, no one's going to listen anymore. I took a week off. Fuck, that's a week of no content. And it's just crazy to think that, because like now it's 2022. Like I said, more creative stuff. Mentally, I'm ready to fucking go.
Yeah.
Like I can film every week, 3 nights a week. I'm having fun. I'm worried about when is it going to finally kill me? Like, just 1 week where I'm just like, I'm out. I don't have any ideas. I don't want to do anything. And then that scares me into the fact of, would it turn into another hiatus? That's what I'm worried about. But the way everything's going right now, I don't think it'll turn into another hiatus. I might take a week off or 2 weeks off, but with how I've made the show into, let's just get into that. Let me talk about.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask about that too. Like, you had already mentioned about the fact that, and I want to talk about the hiatuses and the burnout stuff, because like, listen, and I say this as humbly as possible, obviously, if anyone knows about that,
yeah,
I know about that, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's like we've both been,
we've been low. We've had our fucking low. We've been low, but you when you were low, you fucking kept going. Where I was low, I said, fuck it. I don't want to do it.
And, which I get. I totally, because trust me, like I've been there many times. And I mean, it's not like that's what happened. That's not all that happened with 2 guys in a game, but like, we just were like, I fucking drained myself. Like I was like,
and it literally happens. Like you just wake up and you're just like, this is done. Like I will drive to work and I'll get to work and I work by myself for a decent amount of day. I just cut shit all day and I'll sit there and practice what I'm going to talk about. And then the day that I go to work and I don't even think about it, that's when I'm like, okay, I need to do something different.
Yeah. And listen, like there's nothing wrong with taking a week off because you're burnt out. It is way better. And I say this, like the biggest thing that's changed for me in the last couple of years with the podcast is I don't allow myself to be like, oh my gosh, I got nothing for this week and it's Wednesday at 9:00. Oh my God. Like, I know I got to pull something out of my ass. And it's like, no, take tomorrow off, take the fucking week off. Okay. Yeah. No one's going to care. Just you like chill out,
and you were doing it in a great way. Cause you have the connections now that you didn't have when even I was the last time I came on. You can interview someone fucking every week. And yes. And to me, that makes it so much easier. Because for me, I'm working off myself right now. Which you're going to come on. Yeah. You're going to come on soon. I just fucking, listen.
I have been waiting for the invite to come on the Honestly Lazy Show for basically 4 years. Okay. And you had Ryan on before me. I mean, what does he have to offer?
Hey, I'm Ryan Wood. This is where I feel the worst.
Hey, buddy, I love you.
Here's
that was a great interview, by the way. I loved it.
Oh, you know what? you have no clue how fucking nervous I was for that interview. Not because of Woody, because I was like, Woody's gonna bash me. And and I remember he called me out for being on my phone. And then I listened to our old podcast, and you're on your fucking phone. And I'm like, oh my God, dude. Like, I'm fucking up.
Figure it out.
And my phone, I haven't looked at it yet. So I'm doing that.
No, you're doing good. I can see it. You're doing good.
But that was my first interview with Zoom. I've never used Zoom before.
Right.
And the last thing I ever want to do with the guests is we have like a fucking 2-hour conversation, 45-minute, 2-hour conversation. And then I say, what? We got to do it again.
I didn't record.
Yeah, and that scared the fuck out of me. Like, and that's why I kind of trusted Woody with it, because he'd be humble about it.
Yeah.
The thing that drives me nuts the most about me interviewing people is I've had Quinn Mar on twice and not you yet. That's where I start feeling that.
Listen, like I don't know what I have done to upset you in such a way, but like, no, and I mean, listen, like you and Quinn are good buddies, and like you and Ryan see each other more. Like, I'm also out in fucking Peterborough. Like, it's I'm not actually, joking.
The crazy thing is with me and having like my buddies on is I want people on. Like, I got people who play music and shit. And I'm like, yeah, we'll do a Zoom call. And they're like, no, I want to come out and drink beer with you while we record. Yeah. And I'm like, do it in person. Dude, we're in a fucking pandemic. I gotta be careful. Like, as much like Quinn and I did it in the middle of a pandemic, but the restrictions were low.
Right.
Like, I was allowed to have him over. Now could have a guest over and shit. But I mean, fuck, like, you got to be so careful. You got to
be careful. Yeah.
You got it. Especially because we're in Ontario. Doug Ford's being a clown right now. I don't know if you're a fan of him. I think he's a clown. If you watch my podcast, I bash him a little bit.
Yeah, the latest episode, it was him. He's out shoveling snow. We're not going to get into that, but yeah.
No, I'm not getting political. I just kind of see, and that's the thing. It's like, my podcast is not political. It's just, if Doug Ford does something stupid, I make fun of that. And that's all I really do. It's not like I'm saying like, so his fucking tax on I don't fucking get, he can tax me. I'm fucked anyways. I can't get that money back.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Yeah. That's the thing with what you've done with kind of this rebirth, so to speak, of the Honestly Lazy show.
Oh my God.
Like,
yeah.
When you started like BoyStick videos before the Honestly Lazy show, it was you basically ranting and doing commentary on videos. The Honestly Lazy show was kind of like a bit of a variety show, but like you guys kind of would do like fun challenges.
Top 10s was a big
stuff like
thing.
that. Yeah. And then you did like BoyStick Stories, which was not a podcast. And it was just you doing storytelling. And now with what's cool with what you're doing with the Honestly Lazy show is you've kind of just like wrapped it all up into one.
Yeah.
And you have a little bit of everything. And you've mentioned doing segments and stuff. So just like walk me through the process of when you were like, hey, I want to start doing this again and I want to do things differently.
Well, okay, so I'll explain exactly how you just did, but do a little bit more detail. I started doing BoyStick, and it started out, there wasn't even commentary videos. I got introduced to H3H3, which is now a YouTuber that everybody hates, but he was loved back then. But he was doing commentary videos. And I had so much joy watching him do the videos that I was like, I keep burping. I thought to myself, like, I should try it. And then I figured out how to like even download videos. So I started finding random videos and started to, make fun of them. And I never went after the big videos. Like, there was videos like even when Logan Paul did The Forest, which, you were even like, I should do.
Yeah. I think I messaged you and was like, dude, you need to tear this motherfucker apart.
and I didn't, because in my mind, I'm like, dude, that's just bringing more fucking publicity to the fucked up thing. So I kept doing that. And it was harder and harder to make the content because I was working a full-time fucking job. The hardest I ever went with BoyStick, I got laid off. I got laid off from November, and I got my new job in March.
Right.
So all those months, it was turning into, holy fuck, I'm drinking a lot. So I went to the videos, and I was like, well, fuck, if I want to be sitting around for the whole day, I'm going to be making content.
Do something productive. Yeah.
Yeah. And the big thing was, and people don't get this with the BoyStick videos, those motherfuckers, I would shoot for probably 4 hours, like literally making fun of video. And then you have like an hour or two or whatever worth of content. Now you have to break it down to fucking 10 minutes with the other video in it that you're making fun of.
Right.
It was a shit ton of work. It took 8 hours to edit every video, but I started gaining subscribers. I got up to like 124. And the goal is to go back to BoyStick and still do commentary. My plan is to just do the random video of the week, which is a segment on the podcast, and just re-upload it to BoyStick. That's my new kind of plan, just to make it a little bit easier on myself. But so, you know, BoyStick was too much. I was fucking dying to make content. And I was like, fuck, man, like, what am I going to do? And then I said, me and Craig started the Honestly Lazy show. But of course, life got busy for Craig. I haven't talked to Craig in a long time, and I miss the living fuck out of that kid. I really do need to reach out. I've messaged him saying, you need to come back on the podcast. We need to do a reunion again. Like, because when me and him were bouncing off each other, it was like you and Cazador, whatever the fuck his actual name was.
Cazador Jones, brother.
Cazador Jones.
That's Cazador motherfucking Jones to you, sir.
So like we bounced off each other really well. But I sat there and I was like, fuck, what am I going to do now? And I was like, well, fuck it. I'll do a podcast, because podcasts were like the easiest way to just rant and shit. With the experience I already had from BoyStick Story, I felt like I could do it. Then I started to realize I struggled for, I don't know, I'm going to say, I don't know. There was just a struggling to talk. Like where, you know, you could talk for an hour and a half
right
on one thing. I fucking struggled to do that. And I really did. And I mean, I disappeared, or I think I only got to like 20, not even 20 episodes, and I disappeared. Big reason, the big reason was fucking partying too much. I lived in a shitty house, which I've talked about on my own podcast on Honestly Lazy. Shitty house. We partied all the time. Half the hydro would go out. Fucking like
I remember that
room. The room that I recorded in, the lights would go out. And it's like, I guess it's dark while I'm recording. And I would shoot. And then I had a roommate who he would come home from work, and I had a big fucking window like you had. I remember you had that live stream where your girlfriend hucked a snowball at your window and scared the shit out of you. This guy fucking did that every week. He knew what night I recorded. If he saw the lights on, he put his hand up on the glass from outside, scared to show me, throw snowballs, or he'd poke his head up. Fucking, it was very distracting. And no offense to the guys I lived with, I fucking love them. Like one of them was my brother, and one of them was my good friend. And we had so much fucking fun. We partied, got it out of our system. And then I finally moved. I'm not going to say where I live. I'm sure I've said it somewhere, but I'm not going to say exactly where I live. Maybe down the road if I start interviewing in the town I'm in now, but not right now. I'm just not going to say where I live.
If you would like BoyStick's address, I'll have it in the description down below, folks.
You don't know where I live, you clown. So I got out to my town. Oh my God, it's hard to not say where I'm from. So I get out here, and then it was just like one day I was just like, fuck. This is the perfect place. So, you know, we're not partying. I'm like, I should get back into this. And on top of the fact, there's people like the people I shout out, like Breeze was hounding me for episodes. My buddy's girlfriend or wife, Courtney, Brandon Warren's wife, asked me, when's it coming out? People at work were asking me, when's it coming out? So I was like, all right, well, fuck it. I'll give it another shot.
Yeah, the demand was there.
Yeah, so it kind of was. Like, I don't have a following by any means, but I'm having fun. So I get back into it, and there was just something not sparking. I was working, and I was having kind of fun with it. But honestly, one day, my buddy at work, Johnny Mac, shout out to him, because he's the reason why I started doing like this. He showed me this radio show, the Biggs and Barr show. They're from out of Ottawa. So Jason Barr, one of them, Barr, used to be on Dean Blundell. So this is how the guy grabbed me. He said, this guy used to be on Dean Blundell. He has his own show now. So, okay, I listened to it, and the way they did their segments, they have like a Q&A segment. They have a Dougie line. They call it the Dougie line, but that's where people leave voicemails. Nathan Breeze has actually been on that line on the air a few times. He showed me. He literally has the episodes on his laptop, so he showed me. So I was sitting there like, that's fucking cool. And then I was like, well, I mean, I want to do something like that. Like I always wanted to kind of be in radio. I actually did do radio a couple times with Quinn Marr. He gave me the opportunity to actually be on the radio. Very hard not to swear, but I did it. I did it. I didn't swear. I was so proud of myself. And I was like, all right, like, what can I do for segments? I'm like, I can do Q&As. And then I was like always on TikTok, and I was finding the cringiest fucking videos. And I was like, shit, I could do this for 10 minutes, especially if you can find a video where it's like, if you're listening for audio, it works. And that was the first random video of the week. The person being mad at the people for the silo falling over, and they didn't stop it. That was my first random video of the week. And it was just perfect because the audio you could understand what was going on just through audio.
Right.
And then it was just like, all right, so I'll do 3 segments. So the opening with just something random, and then the main thing, which was the random video for a week, and then an ender of just like a news story or something like that. And then salute, I'm gone. And it's been fucking working. Like, I've been having so much fun with just this little formula of how I'm doing it, and it's a less workload. Every night you just shoot for 20 minutes. If you like to take, you take it. I've had to reshoot not too many times. I usually dig it the first try, which is a big improvement for me because I would have never done that before. So it's a big thing. And now that I've turned it kind of into a radio show, it's great because now I have a segment called the Shower Beer Quote of the Day, where it's like my buddy at work heard I had a podcast, and I always praise at work how I drink a shower beer every night, which I do. Every day after work, I have a shower beer because it's just the perfect time to have a shower beer after a long, shitty day.
Nothing like a shower beer.
Yeah, and I do. Like, I have a fucking cup holder. My college friends got me a cup holder that sticks to the wall in my shower. So I have a cup holder. I'm not joking. It's awesome. That's going to be a video. I'm going to do a video called the top 10 or the rules of shower beers. It's going to be a skit like You Betcha. Like, if you know who You Betcha is, he does like what's his, like, 2 guys in a bar, like a video where it's like two guys hanging out in a small town bar. It's like little bits and shit. I'm blowing it, but I love his shit. He's the same age as me, and he's fucking, like, because of his videos, he's got to wave the flag at Daytona and got to live a great life, and it makes me very jealous. So I look up to him, even though he's the same age. But he said you should do a shower beer podcast. That's what your podcast should be called. And it turns out he draws logos for fun every once in a while. So I was like, drop me up a shower beer logo. And he was like, no problem. So I got the logo, and it was supposed to be another podcast, a drinking one, but I turned it into just, I was up in Niagara Falls with my girlfriend drunk in a jacuzzi with all the bubbles, and we brought a shower cap, and I just said random fucking, first thing came in my head, all right, film it. We got a quote. So we have a few from up there, and now I'm back here. I'm actually going to go in my shower one day, get naked. And, I'm going to start an OnlyFans with a shower beer quotes OnlyFans where you can see the whole body.
You can see everything. You can see BoyStick, so to speak. You can
see little stick down there. He does the job.
The little stick, whatever. That's what's so fun, right? Like, when I saw, because obviously I was familiar with the Honestly Lazy show. Obviously I was familiar with your content. Like, obviously we're on the same fucking network, for God's sakes. Like, obviously I was aware of what you had done. So when I saw that you were relaunched, and I want to say that we had either linked up or I messaged you or something of that nature when I saw you come back, because
you sent me a Snapchat.
Did I? Video. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember, because I was like, I remember it popped up on my feed and I was like, oh, I wonder what he's doing. Lo and behold, like, oh my God, like,
it's back.
It's different.
Dun, dun, dun.
But it's like almost like I don't want to say it's better, because like
it is.
I like it's much more entertaining, I think, and doing things the way you do with the 20-minute segments or whatever, it lends itself so well to podcast.
Yeah.
Right.
And
like
that's
when it's just you. Right.
And that's the thing. It was like, I would fucking be sitting there talking about the one subject for 45 minutes. I'd be sitting there thinking to myself, I am dragging this. Like, I'm not even entertaining myself anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fucking bored of talking about this subject. And the one thing is, I've never been good at going into different subjects like smoothly, like podcasters should be. They should be able to smooth into the next subject. I was never good at that. That's why I just put a boop and on to the next thing. Like, it was just easier for me.
Fuck it.
Yeah, fuck it. Dead ass. It's the Honestly Lazy Show. Anything goes. That's the best part about the name. I can fuck up. I'm just like, I'm honestly lazy. Fuck off.
Dude, when you told me the name like 4.5 years ago, and I was like this idea you had, like, oh, it's the Honestly Lazy Show. And I was like, fuck, like, man, like, that is great. And like the branding, I remember like we're in the back of Tim Hortons, and I'm like, dude, the branding, like,
it works.
Like, relax, like, you know. I'm like, no, bro, like the branding and like all this shit. I'm like, that is a brand, bro. Like, that was my thing at the time. It was all about brands. I still am, but like, you know, I was very much even back then. And you mentioned this earlier, like as far as like the ego thing, and like at that point, I was so firing on all cylinders with podcast stuff.
Yeah,
I was confident, but also it was like, I was okay, this network thing. I'm like, you know, I want to get a group of people together, and like, I want to be able to make these people money.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's everybody's goal with because I want to start a network, but
yeah.
I'm like in no rush at all.
Don't
what
rush
happened?
it.
Whatever happened to Podbeard? Like, you had the website or Podbeard, right?
That's what it's called? Podbeard. So basically, long story short, and this is no way a slight on you at all. Let me be very, very clear. There was some people involved with it who I brought on who I should not have brought on, and that's not even necessarily their fault either. It's just
that was me.
It's like, so listen, the thing is like, so I started the network way too fucking early, and I know that now. But when you have someone who does a weekly show, is obsessed, and that's all they do in their spare time,
yeah,
and they look at the other people, go, well, come on, like, you know, like, let's, you know, I didn't bring on, aside from Josh from Still Loading, he was the only one who really like. He'd been doing it for a long time. So my mistake with it was I pushed people into it when like they probably shouldn't have been. And that's okay. Yeah. Like that's okay, you know, but, and I was expecting, like, you know, basically the main shows of the network were the 3 shows that I was involved with. And then we had other great shows like the Honestly Lazy Show, like Still Loading Podcast.
And BoyStick was a part of it. My commentary was actually a part of it.
Yes, absolutely.
And the thing, and I get where you're coming from. And I feel like me and you now should try to partner up and try it again. Like, because you know the more people, but I had ideas for a website that I'm like, I feel like if we did it like, you let me fuck with the website a little bit, we bounce back and forth with ideas. I feel like we both are at a spot now where we, like, it would be successful. Like, I feel like we could do it, but like I said, I'm in no rush at all to do this. Like, I literally just made some mock-up merch, and I'm just right now, it's just like, what do I, with the podcast, like, what do I really want to do with it?
Right.
Do I want, like, and the big thing is like we say, everybody and their fucking mom has a podcast. Like,
right.
Logan Paul has a podcast, and because of how big he already is, he can get fucking anybody on. Theo Vaughn, Joe Rogan. Like, we are competing with these big boys, you know? And like, I get emails still. Oh, hey, BoyStick. Like, we want to sponsor you. And now you're back. What's your favorite video of mine? So when do you want to start?
It's all bullshit.
And I'm like, get
it's all bullshit.
It's like I do want to get sponsored, but I feel like at this point I'm gonna have to reach out to people and just be like, look, here's what if you give me a sponsor, I will fucking advertise your shit. What do we need to do? But I mean, I thought sponsors be coming to me and be like, oh, come on, give us your dick and we'll fucking we'll sponsor
give us your dick. And that's the opening line of the email. No, like I like the thing is too is like with sponsors and stuff, like
it's
the actual reality of getting a genuine sponsor is
impossible.
It's very, very tricky. But, there are a lot of great ways to make some money, doing what we do, even on our level. Like I always say this is I'm like, look, like I am an indie podcaster, just like you are an indie podcaster, an indie YouTuber, and small YouTuber, whatever the group is there. I don't want to misquote it, but like I always say to people, I'm not competing with those guys because we're not even in the same fucking conversation.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
If there's there was at one point in 2020 where my podcast was ranked number 34 in music podcasts in all of Canada. And when I found out that information, I just about cried because I was like, how did that even happen? And, it's like, I don't necessarily, I don't worry about that shit anymore because it's just like, it'll drive you crazy. Like, I do this for the fun, but it's like, I just had this conversation with someone who's in the podcast game on a much higher level. They said, the value that you have is the fact that you've been doing this for simply 6 years and another like week and a bit. Yeah. And, you haven't really missed a lot of time, like aside from like a month where I had to move and then like a week here and a week there. Like that has value. One day someone is going to pay you a lot of fucking money for that. Just the fact that look at all the shit he's done, like regardless of the quality of it or the downloads, like, cause it all comes down to downloads and stuff, right? Like no one cares how great I've been fortunate where any sponsors I've had, they were just like, we want you. We don't give a shit about the podcast, like, and that's cool to have that. But in order to get a actual sponsor, it's like, that's like, I've had this conversation with podcasters before too. Like, and I think the route you're going where, like you're on, I think you just dropped episode 42, was it?
I think it's 42. Dude, I don't even know. I don't pay attention to my numbers. I don't pay attention to my views. I don't pay attention to anything. I post my shit on like Reddit, on podcast networks and small YouTubers and stuff.
I've seen you pop up there.
But besides that, I don't care. Like, it's like if it happens, it happens. But for right now, I'm just having so much fun. Mm-hmm. And the fucking shitty thing, and the shitty thing about fucking podcasts, and when you start having fun with it, it gets very expensive because everybody's goal is the SM7B, and that's fucking $800 with the cloud lifter and the fucking boom arm, and it's just like I told my girlfriend, like, I want to buy the SM7B, and I told her the price, and she's like, no, we need like a TV, we need dishes, we need more important stuff.
We need towels.
Like, it's like, but I want the SM7B. I can get that shit later. Like, what are you talking? We got enough dishes.
Listen, like, and that's the thing too, right? Like, I mean, you could always, hi, I'm TJ Hodder, and if you need a fantastic microphone at a very, very reasonable price, then I implore you to discover the high quality of the Zoom CDM1 dynamic microphone. This microphone is seriously fucking awesome.
It sounds good.
But honestly, like, I was using this and someone thought it was an SM7B. And obviously when you put the two against each other, there's no comparison. But at first glance, at first listen, the average person,
it's good.
They're not going to hear it. It sounds good. But like the point I'm making is you don't necessarily have to get that. You don't necessarily have to. I get it. Trust me. I totally, because Brandon has one of those, and I'm like, brother, come on.
He doesn't even use it, bro. I know, like, the microphones he uses are like for fucking movies.
Dude, he uses like he has a $10,000 microphone.
I know.
And I'm
You
like, what?
fucking-
Like, what is that for? Like, but that's the voiceover world, obviously.
here's how fucking nerdy Nathan is. So the last time I saw Bowden was actually at Nathan's. It was me, him, and Bowden jamming, only the three of us. And me and Bowden were talking about the podcast, and Nathan's like, "Oh my god, yeah, that's Bowden's voice in your intro. That's Bowden's voice talking about how good you were."
It's on my podcast,
like,
no big deal.
Yeah, I was on the Hotter podcast, and I'm like, that shit wasn't even scripted. Bowden like pops a boner for my voice. He's always said like, "You gotta do radio, you gotta do this." I'm like, "All right, dude, chill. I smoke when I drink. This voice will be gone by the time I'm 40. I'll be fucking just a regular laborer. I won't be able to do voiceover." But like, yeah, Bowden and you were both like that. Like, you have the voice,
of course.
and I was just like, nah. Like, I was such a dick. Like, yeah, no, not doing it. Fuck off. I got work to do. That was so mean. But I mean,
yeah,
you go. I don't know what to say.
I was gonna say, like, when it comes to like voiceover and stuff, like that's something now that as time goes on, I'm getting into that world a little bit now, like actual voice acting, not so much. That's why I did those Halloween videos, right? Like, so I was like, let me see what I can actually do. And, I think that's a world that you would do well in too, so.
I can barely read, but
I can't read at all, but
I was actually told that I wasn't supposed to be able to read by a doctor, and I can fucking read.
Fuck him. Yeah, according to doctors, I was supposed to be in a wheelchair, so fuck him.
I can read fucking Dr. Seuss, man. Fuck that guy.
Dr. Seuss has some rhymes, bro.
Yeah, that guy was the best MC to ever live.
Best MC.
What's your favorite podcast right now? Who are you listening to right now?
Grey Rooms.
Really?
Yeah, there's not even a question. Like I said, I've become, over the last year and a half, 2 years ish, I become obsessed with audio horror drama podcasts.
Ugh, fuck that. And I got drive to work in the dark and shit.
Dude, I fucking loved it.
Oh, no.
I became obsessed with a podcast called SCP Archives. And from there, I discovered a voice actor whose name is Graham Rowett. And I am a huge Graham Rowett fanboy. He is my inspiration to want to try getting into voice acting. And he was part of this podcast called The Grey Rooms. And he was talking about how much he loved this project and how like he was involved from day one. And I was like, I'm going to check this podcast out. And then I was introduced to the next level sound design of Mr. Jason Wilson. And now it is my favorite podcast. It's a horror anthology podcast. It's fucking amazing. Like, there's no comparison. If I have headphones in, I'm probably listening to The Grey Rooms.
See, for me, I'm not in like the storytelling and stuff. I don't know. I feel like just YouTube butchered it for me, because like there were so many, like when the dark web videos were like getting big on YouTube, people were doing the terrible voice acting to like, I was on the dark web and my webcam came on and my sister got kidnapped and I got
the dark web.
I got fucked by a demon and all this shit. It's like, shut the fuck. It kind of ruined it for me. For me, I look for the people who are fucked up and have the crazy stories. That's why Artie Lang's Halfway House, and Artie Lang, I fucking loved Artie Lang straight from the get-go. When I first discovered him on fucking Howard Stern, I've loved Artie Lang, and it's amazing his story. You know, he doesn't have a nose bone anymore because he got punched out and all that shit. And the fact that he's not going to get surgery because he's like, they got to give me prescription drugs and I can't take them because I'll get addicted again. And, you know, like he's fucked up so much, and yet, dude, he still has an amazing audience, and he's one of the best storytellers I've ever heard, just talking about his own stuff. And then the fucking sad thing was Bob Saget died, and a month before Bob Saget died, he was on Artie Lang's podcast. So of course I'm driving to work, I'm like, I gotta listen to it, I gotta see. And dude, it's the fucking saddest thing I've ever heard, because Bob Saget had plans, had so much. He
was getting back into it, man. He
was writing Dirty Work too. And because Norm Macdonald died, he's like, me and you already need to do this for Norm. And then he died. He was like, I'm trying to get to the R rating. I'm still writing the script. He just came out with a documentary. He was killing it. And then he just died. And it's just like, dude, it's weird to think that like that was one of his last interviews. And literally you hear him say, I wish I could sit and talk to you longer, but I got a plane to crash, not that. I got a plane to go
plane
on.
to catch. Yeah.
Plane to catch. And that was the tour that he died on. And it's like, wow. And it's weird to think that's the car that John Mayer and who picked up that car? John Mayer and Jimmy Fallon or something like that?
Jimmy Fallon. Oh my gosh. I can see his face. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, and they had to go pick up the car. Like, could you imagine? I was talking to Woody about this over the weekend because, like, I was hanging out with him at Breeze's, and I was like, imagine that car ride, like getting into the car, turning on, and you hear the radio. It's like that was the last radio station Bob Saget was listening to, and you're good buddies with him, and you got to drive this car home, buddy. I'd be fucking bawling my eyes out.
Oh, like fucking same,
it would.
Man.
I probably would have to be in the passenger seat. I guarantee you, they had to take turns driving. There's no way. Like that would be the most. That'd be the most screwed up drive you could ever take. Like it's so sad. And like Artie Lang got to interview him. On top of the fact how Artie Lang lived, and he hung out with the biggest drug addicts like Mitch Hedgeberg, Greg. Oh, he was the king of the roast. Greg something. And they all died, and somehow he survived. And he always says that I don't know how I survived, and all these guys died. Like it's fucked. But he brings on these guys that just, it's amazing. Like, you know what I realized about America through this podcast? All these stand-up guys are like, oh yeah, I lived in Texas and I just moved to New York and started doing stand-up. I'm like, how the fuck did you afford to they just move everywhere, Americans. They never stay in the same state, where me and you are like, yeah. So I moved
from Ontario, bud.
Yeah, I lived in Ontario, started the podcast, moved 20 minutes up the road from my other town, still in Ontario. Like,
and now I do a podcast here.
Have you ever thought about going to BC? No. Well, I'm just gonna stay. I don't know where to go with the podcast. I wonder what the biggest, where the biggest podcasts are in Canada. Where do you think it'd be? Toronto? Really?
Yeah.
I feel 100%. Like it'd be BC.
Oh, Toronto. 100%.
Oh, really?
Just some of the sports podcasts that come out of Toronto, the listenership they have is fucking ridiculous.
I always thought it would be BC just because like they already have like fucking like all the films are shot up there. Deadpool. Yeah.
Well, that's why, right? Because the film industry up there is so huge. So there's a lot of recording studios and stuff like that in Toronto. But then, you know, there's some people here in Peterborough making some noise. Not me, but like, you know, there's other podcasts. They're making some noise in Peterborough here. Fuck. Big shouts to my boy Matt Latour. Matty Talks is the podcast. I'm looking it up, folks, because I want to give a shout out to their network.
They have a network.
They have a network, and
should we join it?
Fantastic.
Should we try to join it? Damn it.
They approach people. I think their idea is they want it at the MNC podcast network. Yeah, my boy Matt Latour, Matty Talks. Awesome stuff. And then also shout out to Jordan. Where's it? I can't find his podcast now. MNC Podcast Network based out of Peterborough here. There's a new podcast they have too called Peterborough Connect, which is basically like local businesses like come on and talk, you know, and it's cool. They're making some noise, and that's really cool to see, because there needs to be more indie podcasts out there that, you know, kind of band together and make some noise, right? Because it's just like, you know, there's a bunch of them scattered all over the place, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's true. I mean, like even where we're from fucking Clarington. Yeah. Like there's people, me and you, there's definitely other people in Clarington. I know there's a guy who worked at Sunspace with me. I don't think he works there anymore, but he was the third ranked sport or hockey podcast in Ontario. And he didn't say it to anybody. People found it. And they were just like, is that you? And he's, yeah, I forget what it was, but like literally my supervisor came up, my ex-supervisor, and he was like, dude, that's his shit. And I was like, and all I thought was, dude, that's goals. Like if he can do it, like fuck out of Clarington. But I feel like where we're from, dude, our upbringing was so different in a way because me and you, when we were in high school, if we tried to do what we're doing now in high school, we'd be fucking like bashed. Like it would, I was making videos in grade 8 and kids found out about it and they made fun of me so much. I actually deleted my YouTube channel back then. So like, if it's like almost like people are scared to do it because they're worried about people making fun of them, where you and I just kind of gave up and said, fuck it, let's just do it because I don't give a fuck anymore. I just want to have fun.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my whole thing was always like, the only reason I started doing the podcast because I was like, oh, I want an excuse to keep in touch with people from the store, right? Like, yeah, I never really like, you know, my thing was always music, right? And like, I think that like looking back, I wish I could have started doing this podcast sooner.
Dude, same.
And it's something that I now working in the school system, obviously as a support staff, but like, you know, looking at, I hear these people talk about ideas for obviously in a post-COVID world, you know, like clubs and stuff like that. No, we're going to do like,
oh yeah,
you know, and I'm like, can I do a podcast club? Can I do it on my own time? Like just have a teacher. Let's get together. Let's start a podcast. Like let's have. We don't have to post it. But like if I was a kid,
yeah,
and I could go to a after school club
and just
record something and listen to it back and like that was my voice I was hearing, I would lose my shit.
Dude,
I would love it. Yeah.
Each time I got a video camera in my hand when I was that young, it was like the best day of my life. I was doing it. You know what the crazy thing, and this is something I'm going to talk about in my podcast. It's crazy to look at the podcast community in a way of they have seminars and they have you know, the big gatherings and it's like how to make your podcast better. And that shit's always kind of and I don't know how your opinion is on it, but to me it's a money grab in a way because like how to me it's just you sit down, record and you create your own shit. I don't know what a class can really. The only thing a class can teach you is to make the audio better, but there's nothing to me a business way.
There is a business, and that's more now how I look at things. Where it's like there definitely is a business to this, and there's definitely a way to you look at it. And if you're in a creative endeavor and you're trying to make money at it, you need to look at it as a business, regardless of what it is. What is the service you are offering? And there's a lot of people out there that look at this as a vehicle to make money. And that's great. Good on them. You know, like I've been asked to do podcast seminars before and stuff. And like, I'm just like, I just always said like, I'm not the guy to do it. Like if you want to have a seminar about how to do it, how to start one, the passion project side of things, I was like 100% I'm your guy. But I'm like I'm not going to be like, all right guys, so the business of it's like, because I have nothing to offer on that our end, right? Hey guys, I'm TJ Hunter and this is 10 things you shouldn't fucking do when starting a podcast. Like that's how I look at it. But it's like there definitely is a business to it. It's just, do you want to look at it like that? Right.
No,
like that's
I've never looked at it like that. Like it's just funny to think about how you would do it. If I got invited to one of those, I definitely would go, but I would get so fucking drunk and I would ruin it because that's just like it's like this is stupid. So I'm gonna get drunk and be like, yeah, guess what? You invited me. I'm drunk. You can't be mad at me. Guess what, motherfuckers? I'm drunk. This is stupid. Just go out and record. Look at all of you. You got Zoom recorders. Go fucking go have fun. Like to me, it's just like there's a business to it. Yes, I get that. But to me, it's just like, how the fuck can you start a podcast and be like, this is a business? You got to have fun with it to start a business, in my opinion.
You have to have fun with it, man. Like
you got to just, if you don't wake up in the morning and think about what you're going to talk about, but you want to start a business, don't fucking do it. Don't do the podcasting. Because for me, I wake up, I drive to work, and right when I get to work, I start thinking, all right, what do I want to talk about? And it's taken me a long time. It's taken me 4 years of the podcast being around to finally get to that point. And I'm glad it took that long. I wish I I wish I did a lot of things different, but at the same time, the way it's going now, fuck it. Like I'm so glad I took the route I did. I'm glad I fucked up like I did. I'm glad I partied like I did, because now it's just like, holy shit, there's more to life than just drinking. And then I found this, and now here we are. Like, you're the audio, I'm the YouTuber, but at the same time, it's just like, fuck, like I'm so like, I upload to the same things you do. You still upload to YouTube. You just don't do.
I've stopped doing video for now, just for a couple different reasons. But yeah, like, and that's the thing too, man. Like, you're hitting the nail on the head. Like, just you have to have fun with this. We started creating because it was fun.
Yeah.
And if it's not fun anymore, don't do it. That's my motto. But when you start worrying about things, and I was very, very guilty of that back in the day. Like, I would get so obsessed over, okay, well, this episode did this, so does that mean we need to worry about this?
Yeah.
I got to cut out this section here because we went on a tangent for 5 minutes about something that was silly, and stuff that just like it didn't matter. Was it fun? If you have fun and you are enjoying it, the hope is that other people will as well. Now, obviously, if you're rambling in circles and, fucking making the same point 10 times like I often do, obviously people are going to listen to that because they're going to be like, okay, this guy's fun, but like he's made the same point 10 times or whatever, like, so it's like, why would I listen to this? Or if you're interviewing someone and you ask everyone the same 10 questions and that's it. Like, why would you listen to that? But just, you got to have fun with it, right?
And you said something there. It's like, if you don't have fun with it, you stop doing it. I did that, and yet the podcast, like here's how you can tell you had fun with it. You just weren't on the right path. I thought I wasn't having fun with it, and I was like, I need to stop. Like, I can't do it. And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, and then it starts bugging you. Like, why am I not doing it? That's when I realized I was actually having fun. I just need to figure out a new path. Yeah. And that's what I did. Thankfully, it's a path that I finally figured out that works. Took me too long, but whatever, we're here. But at the same time, it's just like, if it comes back and it starts haunting you, you were doing something right. It was just, you weren't doing it in a way that was the way that you were supposed to do it.
Right. Like, and burnout is real, man. Burnout is real. And like, listen, I was telling you before we started, once a year, I will go on a listening binge of Two Guys in a Game, one of my old podcasts.
Right.
And the amount of how much I miss doing that fucking show.
Oh, yeah.
My good buddy Kaz. But at the time when that show ended, I was so burnt out from podcasting and was so frustrated with a couple things going on within that world, not with that podcast in particular or with him. It was just basically, I couldn't see while I was in it near the end, like, hey, you're going to miss this. You love this so much and you love doing this. You're going to miss it a lot. And 4 fucking years from now, you're going to be listening back to these episodes because of how much you miss it. And it's like, that's real.
Yeah.
And you can look back and it's like, well, why do I miss this so much? Why is that? Why am I now thinking about this? Like, oh, because you did have fun doing it. And I think that's a very mature thing to be able to admit, like what you just said, like, you're like, well, I was doing something right because I missed doing it. Yeah. So even if at the time you didn't think it was fun, it's like, well, now I miss it. Right.
Exactly.
Like, it's interesting to think about.
It is fucking weird. Like it's been a fucking roller coaster for the both of us.
Yeah.
And we've been working like nonstop. So, I think it's about time for me to go to bed.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Time. I think it's about time we cut this interview.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
Let's wait another 4 years and we'll do this again.
Sounds good. Fuck you. No.
All right, now you're not.
4 years. I'll come on your show. Come on. No.
Yeah, fuck off.
No, man, but it's been great getting to catch up with you, buddy, and getting you back on the show here. We will not wait 4 years again next time to do this.
Let's do this every month. Just bring me on once a month. I have no problem doing it. Let's fucking do it. I mean, yeah, let's do it. All right, I'm hopping off though because I'm very tired.
Beauty. All right, brother. Thanks so much, man. Everyone, check out the Honestly Lazy Show. I'll have some links down below in the description. Check it out on social media.
Oh yeah, I guess I should plug that here.
Yeah, plug your shit. Plug your shit.
All right, so Honestly Lazy Podcast. Type it into the YouTube and Spotify. That shit will pop up. You'll see a little stick figure on a lawn chair drinking a beer with a bunch of beers around it. That's the logo. Check me out. You can also check out my social medias. BoyStick on Instagram. I post little trailers on there of the podcast every episode, every week. On top of the fact, you can follow me on Twitter. Finally got back into that. You'll see the trailers there and random opinions from me, which are usually stupid and just supposed to be laughable. Don't get fucking offended if I say something. I'm not serious.
That Hotter Show guy is a fucking idiot.
He is a fucking idiot, but whatever. I could say my Facebook and shit. I don't fuck with my Facebook. Just follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and go follow me on YouTube. I just hit 60 subs, trying to get to 100 by the end of the year. So let's try to make that shit happen. And follow me on Spotify. I don't pay attention to it, but I have fun with it. So just help me out any way you can. You know, I don't have a Patreon page. I don't have shit. TJ does. I'm fucking proud he brought that back about goddamn time. That's how you get money on that. And for me, just, you know, support, leave comments, leave likes on YouTube. I'm more into the YouTube side of it. That's where I put more effort into. So if you like watching videos, it's there. But I'm also on Spotify. So if you're driving to work and you need something to just laugh at or just hear me rant, which for some reason people actually do like that, it's definitely Honestly Lazy Podcast is a show for you because it's just a radio show with with swearing and ranting. And like, I wouldn't be able to say half the shit on radio that I say on my show. So check it out. And I will... Yeah, I upload every Friday. That's why I was like, I'm forgetting something. I can't tell which day it comes out.
Every Friday, bro.
Every Friday. That's when the Honestly Lazy Show comes out. All right, I'm heading to bed, though.
All right, thanks a lot, brother. I'll talk to you later.
No
problem. All right, folks, there you have it. My chat with my boy, BoyStick, from the Honestly Lazy Podcast. Hope that you guys had as much fun listening to that episode as I did recording it. It was just great getting to catch up with Justin and just really see how far we have come from episode 146 of the Hotter Show. Kind of funny to look back and, you know, I think I've changed a lot. Justin's changed a lot. We've all matured. And I hope so, because that was like 5 years ago. And I think I'm a little better at this. I think he's a little better at it. It's just, it's fun. And BoyStick's doing a lot of awesome stuff over on the Honestly Lazy Show podcast YouTube channel. So go check it out. And also, if you prefer the audio version of the podcast, you can find it wherever you find your podcasts. And go ahead and like him on the social media, BoyStick. And the Honestly Lazy Show. Go check them out. Thank you guys so very much for all of the support and the love. You know how much I appreciate it. And if you want to do a little more to help out the show, be sure to share this episode with your friends on your social medias. Be sure to tag the show so I can thank you properly for doing so. And depending on how you are listening to this podcast, if you're listening on the Apple or on Spotify or on YouTube, you will have the chance to leave a like, subscribe, and potentially rate the show. And if you take a second to leave a 5-star rating if you enjoyed this episode and you enjoy the podcast, it really helps me out a lot and it means the world to me. Thank you so very much for doing that. If you do so, there is, of course, absolutely no pressure. But 5-star ratings help this show grow. It helps me climb the podcast charts so more people can hear great conversations like I just had with my BoyStick. And, of course, if you'd like to do a little more to help out the podcast, you can check out the Hotter Show Patreon and become a hothead. www.patreon.com/The Hotter Show. Come join the hothead community. We have a few different tiers that you can join for exclusive content that I actually just announced last week on the 6th year anniversary live cast. I have 2 new shows that are going to be coming out. I'm still working on the logistics behind it, but it's looking like we're going to be dropping them starting in March. I'm very excited about that. Don't know when in March, but it's coming. Rest assured, it is coming. Because reality is I was a little taken back by how quickly I reached my Patreon goal. And I'm going to thank my patrons in a moment because I need to do that, of course. But got some cool stuff coming up. Let's Have a Beer, an exclusive Patreon podcast from The Harder Show. You're going to get conversations and content that you will never hear on The Harder Show, whether it's stories that are maybe a little too raunchy for The Harder Show, or just for one reason or another, conversations that just I don't think we would get into normally on this podcast, potentially with guests who I've had on before. I've already lined up a few people who have some killer stories that we did not get to on the podcast for one reason or another that you guys are really going to enjoy. And we're going to do it all while having some drinks. I have just decided that every time I do that podcast, I'm going to get myself like tipsy. So you're going to get like half lit TJ every single time you tune in. And what's not to like about that? I think I am a very entertaining tipsy person, not drunk. Drunk TJ is a little much sometimes, but tipsy TJ trademark is he's a lot of fun, I think. And we're going to have a blast doing that podcast. So keep an eye out for that. We're also going to be bringing back Hotter Plays. I have some plans for that. I'm still deciding if I'm going to do full live streams or if I'm just going to do kind of like video let's play things. It's going to be, I'm going to treat it like it's live. I'm going to do it all live. I'm not going to do like voiceovers for the videos or anything. I'm going to do it all live, but still figure out the logistics behind that. But if you are into watching let's plays and things of that nature and want to hear my dumbass do commentary on myself playing video games, keep an eye out for that. Going to be a lot of fun. And we also, of course, have more stuff coming for the Patreon. So check it out, patreon.com/The Harder Show. Joining the $1 a month tier will get you access to any live stream content that I do, as well as Hotter Plays. And then joining the $5 and above tiers will get you access to the Let's Have a Beer podcast, as well as discounts on merch, free merchandise when it becomes available, and things of that nature. This community is going to continue to grow. It's going to be a lot of fun. So keep an eye out, patreon.com/The Harder Show. Thank you guys so very much for even considering to join the Patreon. And of course, I'm going to take a second to give a much needed shout out to the Hotheads. We, of course, have the OG Hothead, the OG Patreon supporter, my man, Mr. Scotty Duquette. Scotty, thank you so very much for all of the support, brother. You know how much I love you. And I owe you a big old bear hug next time I see you. Scott's a longtime friend of mine and has been supporting this podcast from day one, and a Patreon supporter from day one. So thank you very much, brother. I appreciate it. And of course, the Grey Rooms podcast. Jason Wilson, creator of the Grey Rooms. Huge shout outs to him, as well as to Brooks and Cassie and Graham and everyone else over the Grey Rooms. There are so many people to thank. Your guys' support of this podcast seriously means the world to me, and the contribution that the Grey Rooms podcast team made to my Patreon was the reason that I was able to hit my goals so quickly. So thank you guys all so very much for all of the support. You know, I mean, you guys have heard me talk about the Grey Rooms all the time. It's my favorite podcast. I love it to death. It was my favorite podcast, and I loved it to death before they did join my Patreon, but just having their support, it seriously means the world to me. So thank you so very, very much. And if you would like shoutouts like that on every episode of The Harder Show, go ahead and join the Patreon. $1 a month will get you a fun little shoutout like that. And if there's something you want me to say during the shoutout, let me know. I'm happy to do it. Within reason. Just kidding. I'll say anything. I don't care. You want me to tell a stupid joke to you every single time I do a shout out for you? I will do that. Patreon.com/The Harder Show. Thank you very much. And if you would like to follow me on social media, you can do that. The Harder Show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. As well as if you would like to maybe come on the show, you can hit me up on there, or hit me up the Gmail account at thehardershow@gmail.com. Hit me up. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if you want to come on the show and hang out. We'll have a great time. I hope you having a great time on today's episode. I'm going to sign off here today, and I will catch you next time right here on The Harder Show. Take it easy, guys.